did you get home?
Okay, I know, this is kind of a ridiculous video. And in comparison to my last upload, this seems a lot more, well, stupid. What could there possibly be to talk about in a children's movie about K-pop idols that fight demons when my last video was about a revolutionary and iconic psychological horror game? Well, quite a lot actually. So, if you're new here, which you probably are, my name is Vivian from Benamau Media, and today I'd like to explore K-pop demon hunters and the current landscape of kids media. Before we get into this extremely poignant and artistically rich movie about conventionally attractive person 1 saving the soul of conventionally attractive person 2, I'd like to say that I'm going to reference some similar themes to my last video, but I won't be making the same points here. So if you like this video and want to see more like it, I would recommend you check out my previous video about Doki Doki Literature Club. Alright, with that said, let's get into the actual video. So, K-pop Demon Hunters is this very niche and extremely underrated movie about 4 friends, Zoe, Rumi, Mira, and of course Miles Morales, who make up a group called Huntrix and are secretly tasked with uniting the world through music in order to rid the world of demons. However, the Demon King, Gima, sends a demon boy band led by the most Pinterest-looking man I've ever seen. Genu. Like, I'm 90% sure that if you googled Giga Hot Animated Boy, he would be at least the top 5 images. But I digress. The basic plot is the girls and boys vying over fans while Rumi must hide her inner turmoil that she is half demon, as her secret begins to drive a wedge between the girls. In the end, spoilers, she destroys the barrier that protects the regular world from the demon world and rebuilds a new one, through finally sharing her secrets and accepting herself and her friends. Yes, it is corny, but it is also peak. Because, and I want to emphasize this is a kid's movie. It's a damn good one, in my opinion, but it kind of aggravates me a lot when people tear down media clearly aimed at children because it doesn't hold to the standards of Oppenheimer. I'm sorry that you tuned into My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, and you were upset that Pinkie Pie's main conflict wasn't an acrimonious divorce proceeding where she loses full custody and turns to alcohol, sex, and drugs to cope with her new inferiority complex and male pattern baldness. Wait, what was this video about again? So we've established that KDH is indeed a kids movie. Breaking news, water is wet, etc. The real reason I'm sitting here at 10:56 p.m. banging away on my keyboard like a monkey attempting Hamlet is because I love this movie. I know, you probably never could have guessed what with my Saja Boys poster and my breathtaking soda pop choreography, but I do genuinely enjoy it. But more so than the actual experience of watching it, I like K-pop Demon Hunters because it feels like a return to form for kids content. In fact, I almost feel that we're nearing a cartoon renaissance of sorts. I grew up on Cartoon Network and Disney XD. I lived for Gravity Falls, Amazing World of Gumball, Backyardigans, and if you know ball, the Mr. Peabody and Sherman show on Netflix. Holy that was peak. But as I aged out of cartoons, I noticed that they had almost begun to degrade. I stopped seeing kids talk about cartoons on TV and more about YouTube. And not the good YouTubers like Dan TDM or Exploding TNT or even Preston Plays.
Guys,
oh no.
Thank Brian. I need you to have a brain blast like Jimmy Neutron.
No, it was the type of content, the absolute spawn of Satan himself, the worst thing to happen except 9/11 and Toys R Us going out of business. Elsa Gate had to have set children's content back at least 20 years, or more accurately, 50 IQ points. Brain rot has always been around, it just had a different facade back then. And that facade just happened to be adults that should probably be on some sort of list, doing bizarre things dressed as Spider-Man and Elsa. Even after Elsa Gate died down a bit, Cocomelon had already become the #1 most viewed kids media on Netflix and YouTube. Quite a step down from Wonder Pets. It's September 30th, 2018, and things are looking dire. It appears we are one generation of procreation away from idiocracy. But something almost miraculous happens the next day. Bluey airs on Australian television and is a smash hit immediately. Now you can't go to a Target without seeing at least 10 variations of this small blue dog as a strange and non-Euclidean stuffed animal because, side note, the translation from 2D to 3D is actually a cursed abomination. But anyway, I will admit that for a 17-year-old, I watch a probably unhealthy amount of Bluey. However, the thing is, I don't care. It reminds me of what it was like to be a kid, to have no worries about the life ahead of me, and where my only concern was deciding what to make the plot of my Lego soap opera with my sisters.
You will marry me!
The point of this tangent being that Bluey is actually an amazing kids show. The bright colors might make it appear as just another overstimulating toddler show, but it is a genuinely good show for children of all ages. There is real plot and continuity, and even heavier subjects like dealing with death or feelings of loneliness. Bluey encourages kids to explore the world around them with an open mind and curiosity, simultaneously comforting and challenging, which is a difficult dichotomy to handle. And all this background finally brings us back to 2025 and the actual subject of this video. I'm not saying K-pop Demon Hunters is a masterpiece, but it doesn't have to be. All it has to be is a good children's movie, and that it is. Not only are its songs unbelievably catchy, but it has a real story with darker moments that might make some kids uncomfortable. And believe it or not, that's really important. If children are never exposed to more difficult content and are constantly bubble wrapped, they won't be prepared for the world or some of their own emotions that they may not have the capacity to fully understand. I'm not saying you should let your 6-year-old watch Scarface, but PG means parental guidance, not petrifying gore. But before we keep discussing KDH, there's something I left out earlier in the video. One of the movies that my sisters and I were obsessed with is also one of the best animated musicals I've ever seen in my life. Obviously, I'm talking about Martin Short's magnum opus performance, Barbie and the Princess and the Pauper. There is nothing I love more than seeing an animated musical where every composer, singer, and actor still gives their all, instead of writing it off as, haha, stupid animation is only for stupid kids. My name is the Academy, and we don't even watch the movies nominated for an animated Oscar. We just pick what our kids watch. But that is a rant for another time. Believe me. But KDH is a phenomenal example of a movie like that. A movie where the production cared. This was nowhere near the slop that Disney has been churning out lately. I know that might be controversial for some, but I think Schaefer-Lewis Productions said it best when he said they were settling into a comfortable mediocrity. A form of lethargy has seemingly seized the mainstream animation industry lately, but KDH is breaking the mold and has stood out from the crowd of lame generic sequels and derivative original flops. The snappy and unique animation, decent plot, wonderful voice acting, engaging visuals, and obviously those addictive songs were all a huge part of its success for a reason. But I'm gonna be honest, I thought this was a solid 6 out of 10 when I first watched it. However, I felt this strange urge, a compulsion I could not ignore to watch it again immediately. And I did again. And yeah, I have watched it like 5 times now. If this movie was real, Genu would have snatched my soul faster than Max Verstappen. Tangent aside, it's a creative, distinctive movie that even has room for analysis, interpretation, and could even get a whole new generation interested in shot composition and movie making as a whole. What more could you want? So I'm gonna come out and say it. K-pop Demon Hunters is the Gen Alpha Princess and the Pauper. Now, I know that if you haven't watched KDH, you're likely scoffing at the screen as you roll your eyes, and I get it. Nostalgia is real and prevalent among everyone, but I feel it especially affects us at transitional periods in our lives, like Gen Z is at right now. But I'm telling you, as someone who adores both movies, K-pop Demon Hunters is a great sign for kids animation. This is something I touched on in the last video, but I think seeing a good piece of media get popular is always amazing, because it shows that the general public is not just mindless consumers playing Brain Rot Farm Tycoon Simulator or doing lines of KSI and Logan Paul's new Prime Scante. KDH is a good movie, and even though a lot of people refuse to interact with it because K-pop is cringe, the fact is that it's popular, which once again gives me hope for the next generation. This is something I talked about last time. I mean, it's literally on the thumbnail, but something I didn't mention there is my absolute loathing of AI. But I won't go on that tangent here, it's not very relevant. I've had enough tangents, believe me. All I'll say is that every time a kid watches a clip of Rumi hitting an absolutely transcendent note, instead of a cat singing a cover of Unstoppable by Meowing, an angel gains its wings. I know this video is a lot more scattershot than the last one, but I suppose I just had less concrete thoughts about the movie. Actually, I'm realizing now that this video has almost nothing to do with the actual plot of the movie and everything to do with what it represents. which is a sure sign that I'm getting into ridiculous, speculative musing for the sake of musing territory, so I should probably wrap this rant up. I'll try to put a bow on this video by ending with the fact that K-pop Demon Hunters is a good movie against all odds, and the future of the children's media sphere is looking brighter and brighter with every movie of its caliber that joins the ranks. And the future of analysis looks brighter every time a 12-year-old girl leaves that movie thinking, the light looked pretty in that part. I wonder why they did that. If you made it this far, thank you for sitting through this video. I know there's a lot less structure, but this topic is more emotion than logic for me to follow. Thank you to everyone who left kind comments on my DDLC video. Your encouragement and compliments were a lovely birthday present and really mean a lot to me. And I did indeed gain 5 subscribers from that video, albeit at least 2 were people I know in real life, but as promised, here is your dubstep. Thank you all for tuning in, and don't tap the glass. Sincerely, your pal Benjamin.